When we hear the word wildfire, the image is immediate. Walls of flame, orange skies, evacuation maps lighting up the news. Fire feels like the ultimate destroyer, fast, violent, final. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For much of Earth's history, fire wasn't an accident. It was a force ecosystems planned for. Long before humans tried to suppress it, ecosystems evolved with fire, expecting it, preparing for it, even depending on it. So the real question isn't whether wildfires are destructive. They absolutely are. The question is whether removing fire entirely does more damage than letting it burn. Think of fire less like a destructive force and more like a painful healing process. In many landscapes, vegetation builds up year after year. Dead branches, dry leaves, crowded undergrowth. Without interruption, that material stacks like unpaid interest. Low-intensity fires historically cleared this excess fuel. They moved slowly, stayed close to the ground, and spared large trees. The result wasn't devastation, it was spacing. Sunlight reached the soil, nutrients returned as ash. New growth wasn't competing with decades of clutter. When fire is removed for long periods, that fuel doesn't disappear, it waits. And when it finally ignites, the fire doesn't creep, it explodes. Some plants don't just tolerate fire, they require it. Certain seeds are sealed shut with resins that only melt at high temperatures. Fire isn't a threat to their survival, it's the trigger that tells them, now is the moment. After a burn, the ground is suddenly open, nutrient-rich, and free from competition. For those species, fire creates the perfect nursery. Without periodic burning, these plants don't slowly decline, they fail completely. Fire, in this case, isn't destruction, it's permission to begin again. Fire reshapes animal life in ways that aren't obvious during the flames. Immediately after a burn, the landscape looks empty, charred, silent, lifeless. But within weeks, fresh shoots emerge that are richer in nutrients than mature plants. Grazers move in first, drawn to the new growth. Predators follow the prey. Burned areas often become feeding hotspots, not wastelands. Ironically, ecosystems that never burn tend to lose diversity over time as dominant species crowd out everything else. Fire breaks monopolies. It keeps the system fair. Here's the critical distinction. Natural fire and modern wildfire are not the same thing. Today's fires burn hotter, faster, and higher than many ecosystems evolved to handle. Why? Because decades of fire suppression allowed fuel to accumulate unnaturally. Add prolonged drought, rising temperatures, and expanding development, and fire behavior changes entirely. Instead of clearing undergrowth, flames climb into treetops. Instead of renewing soil, they sterilize it. What was once a maintenance tool is now operating with a backlog of neglected work. The uncomfortable reality is that humans built permanent structures inside systems designed to burn periodically. Forests and grasslands don't recognize property lines. They don't pause at city limits. When we suppress all fire to protect development, we often make the eventual fire far more dangerous for ecosystems and people alike. Controlled burns attempt to restore balance by mimicking natural fire cycles under safer conditions. They aren't about letting everything burn. They're about choosing when and how fire happens, instead of waiting for the worst possible moment. Wildfires are neither purely destructive nor purely beneficial. They're a force ecosystems evolved with, but one that becomes catastrophic when pushed out of balance.